Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy,
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
It is I, Shino Brando.
and in this issue, we look at the worst sequels that we were unfortunately given.
So I'd like to lead this charge, if you'll allow me. I would like to take the first glove in this shitty basket and say the worst sequel that we were given was X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, this movie was released in 2019. It had a budget of $200 million, and it had a box office of $252.4 million. That's where the problem starts. This is completely ignoring the fact that when Storm shows up in this goddamn movie, she has an accent she has an accent that was not in Apocalypse, and her accent is the same as Nightcrawler's.
What?
Why?
Storm's accent, Storm, played by Alexandra Shipp, has an accent that is identical to the accent that the person who plays Nightcrawler gives for his character.
That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Absolutely at all. Storm's supposed to be from the Middle East, Egypt-ish area, not vaguely Czech Republic. This movie also features a mutant that I never thought would hit the big silver screen, Dazzler.
What?
That's
We
right.
get the sparkles on screen?
In a scene by herself for all of, I want to say, 45 seconds, Dazzler in her shiny silver outfit with the blue makeup on her eyes is spinning sparkles and singing, and she's doing a whole, trance bit.
Now,
that sounds fucking magical, I'll be honest.
I gotta ask you, does it work for the scene, though?
They are supposed to be having themselves a party out in the woods, and it sure the heck looks cool. It's not like, oh, why did they do that? It's like, oh, Dazzler, glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Sophie Turner, now wife of Joe Jonas, does an okay job as Jean Grey until she needs to interact with the VFX, display emotions, or interact with anyone but Scott and speak.
That sounds like most of her job, if we're being honest.
Yeah, the only thing she looks good doing is when she eventually puts on a red coat for no reason in between two scenes.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves one scene, she shows up in the next one, the red coat, for no particular reason. And also, her, physical connection to the guy who plays Scott Summers, which I honestly could not be bothered to look at that cardboard man's name.
Right?
Their physical connection, good. Solid. I'll accept it. This is, unfortunately, the second film to lift the work of the comic great Chris Claremont, the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yep.
As X-Men The Last Stand already did it.
Unfortunately, also.
It also completely ignores its predecessor. So, it is a shitty sequel by ignoring the movie that came before it. In Apocalypse, she has a scene where in her eyes and in her head, she sees the Phoenix. And then this movie, it's like, oh, what the fuck is that big shiny bird? Jennifer Lawrence phones this entire film in, and I promise you that. Until her untimely demise. Sorry, spoiler for the movie nobody's gonna watch.
I think she even asked for that.
Get me out of here.
Speaking of things that people asked for, Sophie Turner was responsible for the director of this show. As Bryan Singer, because a whole bunch of allegations came up about him, and he's not come within a 10-foot pole against any of those actors ever again. So the person who is directing this was hand-picked by Sophie Turner, and her initial pitch was that this was going to be a movie focusing on the, to have some leading ladies in it. And all the ladies were supposed to get equal treatment and blah, blah, and this, that, and the other thing. This is the Sophie Turner show.
Oh.
This is not the Phoenix show. This is the Sophie Turner show. Because the Shi'ar show up, the Skrulls show up, and they're kind of half-assedly crossed between another comic book thing called the Hellfire Club. On paper, when this was initially in production, they thought this was going to be two different movies. One being the Phoenix Saga, one being the Dark Phoenix Saga.
Shut up.
They put the best part of this film out to pasture in the first 45 minutes of this goddamn movie. The best part of this movie is Evan Peters' Quicksilver. 45 minutes in, he trips, he falls himself into a bush, and he's just straight out of commission for the rest of the show.
What?
Storm says 4 fucking lines, my guy.
Oh man.
And
Question:
Yep.
Was she the only minority?
I don't believe so, but nobody else was as iconic as a character. Psylocke was supposed to come back, but she never did. And
Well,
Beast
then.
is blue, so that's got to count for something.
Oh boy, she was the only she was the only one. Oh boy.
And to top this shit show off before I pass the torch to somebody else, to light their shit of a fire on somebody else's, front porch, this movie rips off the end of Nolan's last Batman movie by having the Professor X and Magneto meet up in France over a cup of coffee and a game of chess.
Stop this.
What?
Yeah.
EFFs, man.
Listen, I have a whole bunch of qualms with a whole bunch of things with this movie, especially how they treated its source material, and how this dude was so confident this movie was going to make so much money until they did a screening of it one time and test audiences hated it so bad the complete third act was rewritten and reshot.
Oh.
Just completely reworked.
Oh my god.
I do not recommend anybody go find this movie anywhere. The last X-Men movie that should end your X-Men rewatch, if you are still doing those. I don't know why you are. There's only 5 good ones. The last one you watch is Days of Futures Past.
With a dash of Logan on the side.
Yeah, and you can throw in Logan and you can throw in the Deadpool movies, but they're kind of their own thing.
Yeah.
They exist in their own little space, and they're good, and they are not to be tainted by the things that came before it.
This is correct.
This craps on everything of the X-Men. Jennifer Lawrence's character, awful. The dude who plays Scott Summers, awful. Bryan Singer's a human being, awful.
This is correct.
There's no wonder the X-Men franchise was put out to pasture after this movie.
And then they did New Mutants.
Well, so New Mutants is its own thing for a topic for a different day, because it got put on a shelf, and it's not their fault. It was supposed to come out just the year after, and then it didn't.
I know. But even the movie now still alludes to Xavier's school and the X-Men. They even outright say the fucking thing.
Yeah, so the big spoiler for this movie, Jean Grey dies at the end. And they renamed the school not Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
Oh, no.
It's the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngsters.
Why?
I mean, it did happen.
I mean, it did. I'm not saying that that's a bad choice. I'm just saying, this movie went on way too long.
Yeah.
Why? Why was that a shot? And then you see in the goddamn sky, it's a phoenix in the sky. I'm like, are you joking? You had the audacity.
In memoriam of the Phoenix.
R.I.P. Jean until tomorrow.
Right?
Honestly.
Oh no.
I am so glad that the X-Men franchise is dead
You
for a
and me
little
both,
while.
man.
It's put on a hard pause. And with
Honestly,
that,
I'm not even a fan of X-Men, and that was disappointing.
Oh, it hurts.
And with that, I think I will pass on the torch to Table.
Okay. So we're going to get a little bit weird with what I'm talking about here, because specifically, I'm calling out the Sea of Monsters movie that was released in 2013, directed by Thor Freudenthal? And fuck, man. It was not good. Because, to be clear, okay, the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series was a book series that started release in 2005, ended in about 2010. It was 5 books long. It was pretty good. It was YA novels, but pretty good. In 2010, they released Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, which was the first movie. It wasn't good, I'm not going to lie, but it wasn't, the worst thing I've ever seen. It just wasn't very good. They aged up the characters. There was some really weird tension between the leads.
There was the wrong Annabelle hair color.
Her name's Annabeth, but yeah. They just got one of the main characters' hair colors wrong, which you can dye your hair for one movie, please. There's a hugely different vibe between 3 12-year-olds traveling the country, kind of confused and trying to figure out what the hell they're doing, and 3 15-year-olds being given, go to these places in this order and the plot will happen, which is what happened in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it hit most of the major beats. It hit most of the big plot points. It skipped a few for time reasons. But in general, it was okay. no, it wasn't okay. But it was an okay representation given what they had to do, you know?
Hmm.
The Sea of
Sure.
Monsters movie was not okay in any way, shape, and or form. So the big thing, right? When you have 5 books, there's a lot of things that can happen in 5 books. The first movie stayed in its lane. It kept to shit that happened in the first book, and that was pretty much it. In fact, they didn't even go into the big scale plot because they weren't sure they were going to get a sequel. But the first one made enough money that they got a sequel, which means now they had to make you aware of the large scale plot. And also, because they still weren't sure they were going to get another sequel, they should really wrap up that large scale plot in this movie and leave it just a little bit open in case they do get enough money for another sequel.
Okay.
It's almost like you should plan one movie at a time until you know you're gonna get more.
Mm.
You sure would fucking think, huh? In the book, it starts off with dodgeball with giants that are throwing giant flaming meteors. In this one, he's just already at camp, and then a Cyclops shows up and is like, "Hi, I'm your brother," and he's like, "What?" And there's a giant bull, which did happen in the books, but for whatever reason, it was just the fight with the bull was supposed to be on the border. It was in the middle of camp for some fucking reason, which way bigger problem. It then gives away the big scale plot prophecy because the structure has always been that you get a small prophecy per book, and then later on they find out that there's this big secret prophecy that you find out that there's a big secret prophecy, and no one will fucking tell Percy that for several books.
Of course.
Because they're like, don't worry about it, though it's probably about you. They don't give it to him till ages later because, spoilers, the prophecy suggests that he's gonna die.
Oh.
And they're like, no need to stress the child out. Especially if he dies before then, and it's not even about him.
Yeah,
But-
not to stress that man out.
But they give both the small scale prophecy and the big scale prophecy in this one. And then they try and resolve the big scale prophecy. The big issue with the great prophecy, insert capital letters, is that it's age dependent. It literally talks about, all this shit will go down when the particular person we're talking about hits 16. So that makes it significant in the books that they start off as 12 and that they age slowly through the series because when he hits 16, it fucking matters.
Okay.
By aging up the characters, they put themselves in a really awkward position for this prophecy. Like they're already at least 15, so you have 1 year to do all of the things.
Good luck, bud.
Bad.
Oh,
Dude's having more
What-
complicated years than Batman himself.
Mm.
Honestly.
God.
Which means they start condensing shit weirdly. There's a manticore that shows up and causes a lot of problems throughout the 3rd book. That guy turns up in this movie. There's fucking Kronos himself, who doesn't turn up until the 4th book, who turns up in this movie. It's a lot. And here's the thing. Not only do they fuck up the plot grand scale, they also fuck up the plot on the smaller scale. So, Evil McEvilson, right, has a boat. And on that boat, he's got a lot of monsters. In the book, it's a cruise ship. It's a big fucking boat full of monsters. So it's a very real threat. You can fit a lot of monsters on a cruise ship. In this movie, it's a yacht. And not like a big yacht. And yet, somehow, this yacht has a brig to throw our heroes in when they get captured on it.
Listen,
What?
like,
Hmm?
I just don't know yachts well enough to know if they have a brig to start or not.
I don't either, I'm gonna be honest, but I feel like the answer should be no. We get the wonderful line, don't stand on my roof, because they stand on the roof of his yacht at one point.
Doesn't quite hit
And
the
it's just, they have this thing called sprayable mist to cover up the Cyclops' one eye so they don't have to CG his face all the time. The
Oh,
Cyclops just,
jeez.
it was fucking stupid as hell. The Cyclops is supposed to explode at one point, and he's supposed to survive because Cyclopses have heat resistance, but the protagonists don't know that at the time. Instead, he takes an arrow and gets healed by water for magic reasons. There was supposed to be a whole really cool tense throwdown between Evil McEvilson on his boat and our protagonist, in which the MacGuffin of the day, the Golden Fleece, has been secreted away, so it's going to get back to where it needs to be for plot magic reasons to do things. And our protagonist is trying to distract Evil McEvilson. And he does so by opening what is essentially a magic Skype message to the guy in charge of their camp in which he convinces the evil guy to admit his whole evil plan in front of this Skype call where he can't see it, so that everyone knows he's evil and this is what his plan is. And it was a super cool scene in the book, and you just feel so cool, and it just doesn't fucking happen. Instead, they fight giant fire rock Kronos, who honestly isn't very intimidating. He's just tall. The Lightning Thief wasn't a good movie. It shouldn't have gotten a sequel. But if it had to get a sequel, it shouldn't have been that. It was so bad. It's like it read the source material and then was trying to explain the plot of the entire series while drunk. And this was what it remembered.
You want to know who I like? The dude who's now in Maze Runner, a series that is now canceled.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
I mean, you have to remind the boy.
I guess that passes it off to the next person in line.
well,
Tasty, what do you got?
I bring to you one of the most popular franchises known to man as of currently too right now. Mortal Kombat. I would do the yell, but I don't want to do that to the editors. So we're leaving it.
Hey, editor, one of you guys, can you please just add that Mortal Kombat sound just right here? Great,
Thanks.
cool, thanks.
But yes, I bring to you one of the popular franchises of the movies, which more or less a sequel, which was very hated on. So Mortal Kombat, as we know it, was a very nice, classic, interesting way of bringing up the game into movie live action. So it was a bit iffy on some CGI parts, but it was interesting for what it brought to a video game live action scene.
Now, I'm going to pause you on that for 2 seconds because I can tell you, initial time around, we all kind of fell in love with that movie, right? But then the second time we watched that movie, we all noticed there was no fatalities.
Yeah. I know.
So much loved, kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Much
But it's
loved
better
on a first watch.
On a first watch basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Rings
But-
very true for the Lightning Thief also.
But that also brings us to the second movie, which people were like, "Oh, maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be interesting." Lo and behold, Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
See, there's that bird behind my head again.
I'm so sorry. Just before I get into the whole problematic thing that happened with it, if we want to call it a movie, that thing. I don't know if y'all had paid attention, but when I was younger, I had seen Mortal Kombat 1, and then at some point when I was growing up, I had seen Annihilation, right? So I had seen them do a rerun at some point for both. I had then noticed the ratings were swapped.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't know they were swapped at that point. Because I was like, this guy kind of like, he looks like the Raiden, but he looks different. And it was weird. It threw me off. I don't know. Nonetheless, it was a weird swap. That one, it's not a big oof, but it was a weird thing that I noticed, and I was like, this is different. But nonetheless.
He's like, I'm not coming back for this.
The person Shino's referring to is Christopher Lambert, who played Raiden first in the original Mortal Kombat movie. In the second iteration of it with Annihilation, I believe was...
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He played Ajax in The Warriors a long time ago.
Yeah, and he's currently in Black Lightning as the, what do you call it? What's his name? Gambi? Yeah, Uncle Gambi. Oh, James Remar. Or Raymar? Yeah. So James Remar played Raiden in the next iteration. Which, the one thing about that part, during that movie, this man cut off his hair when he became more humanized.
Yep. He's like, I'm not wearing this dorky-ass wig. Take the shit off you, man.
Let alone that. It's just, the flowy hair, man. That's Raiden's signature thing.
Well, in the movies, yeah.
And then they just like, hey, no, take this off. And then he just looks like some casual biker dude. Almost. Some like natural thug.
Your Uncle John.
Yeah. Oh God. Annihilation was one of the not so great movies of the time. So it got released around in 1997, I believe.
Yep.
The tomato meter rating for it currently is at 2% with the audience score at 25%. This movie was so questionable on quotes of the script to fucking CGI that was poorly handled. What's funny about it though, there's been comments about it where people was like, man, the fighting scene has gotten perfect with Mortal Kombat. Like, it's not perfect, but it's gotten better. The plot hasn't, and I was like, oh, just straight shot it right there.
Can I make quick mention?
Go for it.
How we erased Johnny Cage within the first 2 minutes?
Yeah, that bugged me too. That bugged me a lot.
Guy does one shadow kick and then just gets his neck snap us, bro. Like, it was so weird.
They're really like, hey, your soul is mine now.
The actor wasn't the same actor either. I think they changed that guy too. So like, and he was noticeably different. So I think
Johnny Cage.
Yeah, so I think they get rid of him. They're like, yeah, you die.
I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong, I thought they had kept him the same.
No, that guy never came back.
You're correct, actually. So in the first one was Lyndon Ashby for the first Johnny Cage. The second one, which I just found, is Chris Conrad, which that's another switch out I didn't realize happened. They really
Everybody was different. Sonya Blade was different.
Yeah.
The only people they kept were Liu Kang and Katana. That is all.
And Ed Boon too.
Oh, I guess for voiceover. That's about it.
Actually, no. You know, funny thing is, this is another switch out. Ed Boon played Scorpion in the second one. Chris Casamassa, if I'm butchering it, I'm sorry, played in the first one. So there's a notable difference of switch outs for these.
But that's that voice role because Ed Boon only voices Scorpion. Ed Boon ain't no martial artist, I'll tell you that much.
No, of course. I'm just saying, I think for appearance, maybe, I think it was still original, like the first guy, Chris.
Okay.
But nonetheless, yeah. Go for it.
If memory serves me right, Ed Boon is one of the creators of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
he's the main guy, or like one of the main guys, basically.
Yeah, memory serves me right. There's two, but now everybody just associated with Ed Boon.
There's Tobias, and then there's Ed Boon, right? Both of those guys were behind that, but Boon is like the guy still behind MK. Period.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Essentially, this one's person.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Ed Boon, come on our show.
He does great with the games. He's done a good job, and they're at 11 right now. So, but nonetheless, Annihilation was one of those movies that basically just it missed a lot. Like, if it was a dartboard and potential of good plot and all that stuff was like darts, it was not happening because someone was really missing a lot. Let alone that, even the scripting was a bit questionable on delivery for some of the characters, such as Sindel to Katana, which was, let alone quoting the script here, Katana had talked to and found out her mother was revived, as if you know the Mortal Kombat lore. So let alone Katana is answering, "Mother, you're alive," and Sindel response back is, "Too bad you will die." And it's like, what?
Yo, folks, that was some of the same fucking energy also.
Hang on, I got a question.
Go for it.
How many commas are in that sentence?
There should only be one.
Yeah,
enough to choke on.
True.
Yeah, it was a bit cringy to feel it. And I did mention the CGI. So there's I don't know which games had brought it in, but it was, I think, for Liu Kang's fatalities, or I think that's what it was. He basically did the dragon transformation, right?
Bestialities, whatever they want to call them. So weird.
Yeah, exactly. So bestialities were a form thing in some of the games that had been brought in. So they did that with the movie in the fight between good versus evil with Shao Kahn. Liu Cage versus Shao Kahn. So Liu Cage had finally tapped into his bestiality form, or bestiality, I guess, spirit.
God, I don't like that word.
Nobody does.
That's it's the reference we have to. I don't want to use it, but that is the reference.
Tis the verbiage. I understand.
Video game verbiage. Sorry. Shao Kahn goes into this. What was it? This 3-headed dragon? Was it? The 3-headed,
practically King Ghidorah.
Yeah. So what is it that? And let alone even what it looked like after. The transformation into it was ugly as hell.
Yep.
This man had a forehead that was way too tall. They extended it when he was transforming, and it looked even uglier. I hate seeing that scene, man. I remember watching it the second time, and it was still like the most cringy thing. I wasn't even terrified. I was just like, eh. Nonetheless, Annihilation. Just stick with Mortal Kombat and just stick with it until we get this revamp.
Surprise, surprise. WB is like, we got a D1 coming out for like January, so prepare for that.
Yeah, which hopefully that'll be good.
Nobody's really hyped for this movie because there was nothing given for us to see what we're looking at here. They just announced some bullshit and they're like, yeah, it's coming out.
Yeah, hi, we have a logo.
That's it. So I mean, if you're trying to win me over, you gotta show me you gotta show me something.
Mortal Kombat's coming out in a handful of months.
You want people to enjoy your thing, you have to give them content, or they're
Yeah.
gonna go, "I'm suspicious. I'm not going to that."
Us, yes.
Yeah.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the great granddaddy of them all,
Oh no.
Shino. Take us down. Light your torch, my guy.
Mine's a bit tricky because one series is actually the first, and then it's considered a sequel, and then the series filmed right after is the sequel, but it's considered the first. So it's a bunch of messy stuff there. But for y'all, I'm gonna talk Star Wars, and we're gonna start with the prequels. All right.
Okay.
So why the prequels are good?
Shino, I'm scared.
And you should be, will be.
I'll hold your hand. We'll get through it together.
Look, so I'll start with episode 1, okay? Phantom Menace. I can't remember what year that came out. That must have came out like, what, 98, I think? 97, 98?
Yep.
It's pretty back then, man. I must have been like
Yep.
all like 13 years old. It was the first thing that came out since, Return of the Jedi. There was nothing in between 1981 and 1998. There was nothing in there. When this came out, pretty excited. And then Jar Jar Binks. And then space politics.
I'm sorry. Did you not want your
Go to
movie
the
with the first
Senate.
40 minutes of space politics? Is that not what you signed up for in a Star Wars movie? Heaven
Space
forbid.
politics. So you're spending about 30, 40 minutes of just politic talk, which for any child goes over your head. And for any adult who doesn't really care because you're already dealing with your own real life politics, this goes over your head as well. And we get a Jar Jar Binks, and we get a lot of Gungans, and we get a pod race that nobody asked for.
It doesn't mean anything. There's no reason for the pod race to happen, like on screen.
You could have cut that and be like Anakin 1. I'd have been like, fuck, I believe it. And the only cool factor of episode 1 was Darth Maul. And I didn't even say the character himself, but the whole fight scene was the key thing of that whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Ewan McGregor, because I love Ewan McGregor, and if you don't love Ewan McGregor, there's something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. We get to episode 2 now, Attack of the Clones. Basic title. What do we get in this movie?
Isn't this the one where sand, it gets everywhere?
I hate it. I hate them. Sand people.
Just straight up the sand people. He's so racist.
Anakin's fucking super racist, bro. Holy shit. He says it so, and he says it in front of this. He says it in front of Padme, and she just looks at him like, "I'm still gonna fuck him." Right? Gives you a stiff ass love story that nobody's asking for. You don't really believe the two of them when they're falling in love on screen. Then we get to episode 3, arguably the better of the 3 in the prequel series. I mean, you see the downfall of Anakin, still a bit stiffy here and there, right? But it works in its own way. He murders younglings.
The younglings.
And listen, if you want to hear us talk about more and make some jokes super about this, we did an entire episode about everything wrong with the entire Star Wars canon. And we encourage you
Took a
here
while.
to go watch that one too.
Where are we at now? Oh, we're at A New Hope. Hey, look at that. We made it to A New Hope. A good-ish movie. I know people are going to give me heat for that, but listen, man. The movie's not perfect in any form, okay? Entertaining as it is and as unique as it is, that movie's flawed with all kinds of editing mistakes. After they blow up the fucking Death Star, he runs into the room yelling Carrie instead of saying Leia.
It is pretty funny.
Dope.
There are some mishaps in there. Still fun to watch. A little flat in the beginning after Vader does his thing, right? You're watching two droids walk the sands and you meet like whiny Luke. And then you have to wait for his uncle and aunt to get murdered for things to kind of carry on. So, I mean, it gets a little flat there. But after that, it's entertaining, right? But then you have Empire Strikes Back, which is probably the best one of the 3 in the Lucas era. Minor mistakes only with some voices when C-3PO gets destroyed. He gets blown apart, right? That was supposed to be Boba Fett's voice, but they was someone else that you'd never even see. There's a stormtrooper that later loses his helmet after he drops Han off into the jail cell after they torture him. But nothing to gripe too much on Empire because I love Empire to death. Then we get to Return of the Jedi.
Peak Twink Luke.
The only problem with that one would be the fact that Boba gets killed by a blind guy.
And hey, if you want to hear about the origins of Boba Fett, you can listen to our Star Wars holiday special.
Oh! I was gonna get to that. Don't worry.
Oh boy!
I was gonna get.
Apologies, I jumped the gun.
So yeah, Return of the Jedi with nothing but Ewoks that really don't do much for the plot other than to get killed in the background. In that era, those were the movies you had from 1979 or 77 to 81, or 83, I should say. Before that, at the height of its popularity, you had the Star Wars Holiday Special, which spent 35 minutes with Wookiees that had no subtitles, that you were just supposed to sit there and watch them gurgle at each other and figure out what was going on. And then there was a couple of acid trips in there, and they had appearances of your favorites: Chewie, Han, Luke, and Leia, for all of 5 minutes.
Cumulatively, just so we're clear. Cumulatively 5 minutes.
Correct.
Just for 5 minutes. At its lowest point of its popularity, we had an Ewoks movie. Don't watch that. And now that you're aware of it, really don't look for it. Don't watch it.
I mean, if you wanna listen to us talk about it, that video needs to get 30 likes, and then we'll put ourselves through it.
Oh boy. So you had yourself the Lucas era. You had some good points, bad points. You had the prequel era, some bad points and some good points. And now we get to more Disney era. So let's talk about Force Awakens, right? So Force Awakens, I went in there with big hopes and dreams. It started, opening scroll, looked good, right? And the intro, everything was exactly right. Everything worked out well. And you know what? Sitting back and watching Force Awakens, the only gripe people really have is that it's very similar to your previous movies, right? But I mean, like, bro, did you not watch A New Hope and Return of the Jedi? It was the same fucking thing, and they did it again, bro. I mean, it just goes to show you how stupid the First Order, now, if you want to call them the First Order, whatever, it just shows how stupid they really are. They went for it for thirds. It didn't work 2 times. They went for a 3rd time. I don't know.
Comedy comes in 3s, and at this point in time, the whole fucking franchise is a farce. So might as well. And I mean, it goes with promise. You get your plucky new characters, Poe. You get your cool ass dude, Kylo. You get Finn. You get Rey, and it seems like it's going in a positive direction. And then, we silence the minorities. Finn, you get to do nothing. Rey, Kylo, you do everything. Oh, you're kind of in between. You're not too dark, not too light, so you kind of get to do stuff sometimes.
Some things.
You get to mourn over the passing of legacy characters, and that's your job in 3 films.
That's it. You get to kind of show up in the beginning, get kind of blown away, so you're presumed dead, and then you show up later, and then you talk to your homeboy, and then you disappear. And then, like, at the end of that film, it shows promise with Finn, and then he fights Kylo, which is still cool, and it gives you a little clue of what Finn's all about, right? Like, you can tell he's Force sensitive. Things are cooking here. The Force always continues, right? It always flows. And then he gets beat by Kylo, blah blah blah. And so you get yourself a new hero. And I'm not opposed to having Rey. I mean, more feminine characters on screen, all the better. More female heroes, I'll accept them. You know how I feel about those already, right? Right. So Rey already had a special spot in my heart. So I was like, let's go forward. And then The Last Jedi, man, a movie that does nothing for anybody.
Bad.
Luke's practically a drunk.
Yeah.
Rey's dealing with her hormones. Kylo got his chest out.
Finn has actually been removed from the plot for any meaningful reason. He goes on a side quest that doesn't do anything.
There's a goddamn space casino.
Yeah, they get regulated to doing a side quest that was supposed to do something for the Resistance, but then they came up empty-handed. The only saving factor was that he killed Phasma. We went for the Kylo show, man. And we regulated Finn to just screaming Rey's name because, like, in the first movie, she gets a lightsaber, she gets force powers and a Millennium Falcon. Finn gets coma.
I'm also still bothered about how anyone ever found that lightsaber again.
Oh,
I still want to know where he got it.
I still want to know how his goddamn grandson found his goddamn grandfather's helmet.
It was on Endor when Luke did the funeral pyre for Vader. So it should have been on the moon of Endor, where the Ewoks live. For some reason, Kylo has it.
Fucking gone is more of my point.
Right. Now,
do you think he went and murdered all the Ewoks to get it?
For sure. What do you mean? Do you not see Edgelord himself?
The sad people know it's the tree bears.
Yeah. Map Skywalker, show me. Tree hugger, show me now.
Show me now.
Oh man, The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
but then we go to Rise of Skywalker. There's Rise of Skywalker. Okay, there's Rise of Skywalker. And after the mess that everybody made, they decided to save Grace by using Palpatine. Reasons.
Because
that nobody wanted. because you got rid of Snoke without giving any backstory to who the fuck Snoke was, because Rian Johnson. Rise of Skywalker stops with the opening scroll of The Dead Speak. Guess what, bitches? Palpatine lives, motherfuckers. Get used to it now. You're gonna witness this for the next 2.5 hours. And then you watch him pan, you watch the pan over of like failed Snoke clones in jars, and you're like, oh, he was using it as a puppet. Oh, Palpatine's so damn strong. And yet, who the hell is he hosting right now? There's a whole arena of these Sith followers. From where?
Coming from? Who are those people?
Did y'all go?
Is this?
My question is, why were they there for so long? Why are they sitting there for so long? Have they gone for a pee break?
You guys eat. You're talking. You're worshiping a guy who sits in a chair that's hooked to cables, man. That whole movie also pans to a whole lot of nothing going on. It's not a lot. It's just a lot of cat and mouse chasing. Finn yells out that he has to tell Rey something, but he never does. Yeah, and then that whole final climactic battle where Rey just shows up at the final stage, final boss, and then she equips 2 swords. And then instead of having a really wicked battle, it's just a laser light show, and then she deflects it back, a la Harry Potter and Voldemort, and that's the end of that.
Listen, it is my personal belief that after the Clone Wars show released its 6th season, they should have stopped making Skywalker
Saga.
Thank you. Movies. That was it. When you started to build a franchise out of characters and that had their own thing and had a fan base all to its own, dump the Skywalkers off the side of the fucking ditch.
But no, man. Like there's no saving grace in any of the Disney stuff. There's nothing really good other than you went into that with some hopes for certain characters and you got them dashed to nothing. I'm talking about you, John Boyega. If you're hearing this, I know I love you, man.
So sorry about what they did to your character.
Boy, am I glad the Skywalker saga is done.
It could have ended better, and we could have actually had a loving end to a long ass saga, but it didn't go that way. So we got what we got. We gotta live with it. But
by me, it's done now. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are about to take that entire franchise and build it.
You forgot another name in there too, a Taika Waititi.
My apologies, and Mr. Waititi is going to build that and make themselves like integral to their expanding universe. Good. Please, for the love of God. You had an entire expanded universe that you dumped to the side in 2005 when Disney bought the fucking franchise.
Yep.
Just pull from
it. Basically, that's the new plan. So what they have cooking is that we're going to be doing Jedi and Sith tales, but on the other end of the galaxy, because of course the galaxy is super huge, and the Skywalker saga only took place in one part of the whole galaxy. So there's more shit going on out there, and we're going to be focusing on other people.
On like 30 planets, and that was it.
And that's my long-winded tale of the bad stuff and the good stuff that Star Wars is, because I mean, they're technically the whole thing's considered a sequel the whole way through.
It sure the fuck is. So, at the end of our show this week, a couple weeks ago, we reached out on Twitter and said, for no particular reason, here's the reason there, folks. What is the worst sequel? And so, it's at this point that I want to read off some responses. We got The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, we talked about those. Iron Man 3.
Oh, that was a baddie. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was the 4 Nerds by Nerds podcast. We've got
nice.
Beaver Does Movies with X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, you covered that.
Sure did. We've got Geek Salad Radio, which Matrix Revolutions.
That's a stinker too. That's a stinker.
We've
no denying that.
David McLean with a far reach and says Cars 2.
Not a good follow-up. Not as fun.
And it gets worse from there.
It does.
We've got at Villain's Demand, Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah, I can agree to that. It's not terrible in the fact that like it's filmed poorly. It's just that it does not live up to the first movie, and it's just far weaker, man. And it's a shame.
We've got Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC saying Power Rangers Turbo.
Yeah, that one. That one was a rough one.
No one, listen, man. No one wanted that little kid in that shit, man.
Right? Agreed. We've got Twitter user Echo Brave with Jurassic World 2.
Yeah, that was boring as shit.
Technically a movie if you have to.
And that was everybody on Twitter. Occasionally, we will tweet things like that just to, gauge some audience interest and, get you, all of our listeners, involved in the show. I think there's enough here for us to pull a sequel episode. If you want to see a sequel episode, Beastie, how many likes do we need to have on this video to get a sequel to this episode?
35.
35
Damn,
it
okay.
is. So at 35
All
likes,
right.
we'll do a sequel.
That
And
will
we
hopefully
promise.
actually be good.
And we'll
Batman and
exactly. Ooh.
Damn.
We can do better, we swear.
Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh, hang on. Okay, you can stop there. God bless Christopher Reeves. Anyway, Beastie, if you could please talk us out.
As we dive away from the garbages of sequels, you can
Cringe.
find us. You can find us at our Twitter at Crusade Nerd, our Instagram, which is at Nerd Crusade, and we upload every Wednesday to YouTube. And you can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through the Anchor.fm or wherever podcasts are found by searching Nerd Crusade.
A very Harold and Kumar Christmas. That's to be continued, man.
3D.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by.